Register now.
Hello, my lovely students. A very warm welcome from your AG ma'am, and I hope all of you are doing absolutely awesome and you all are super healthy. This session is for all the ICSE 10th class students, and this is the next chapter, that's metallurgy, and going to be very important for you because you know that syllabus has been reduced and the only relevant and most important topic left is this, that's the extraction of aluminium. How you're going to get aluminium in the pure form because it's quite reactive and not there in the nature in the free form. So how you'll extract it, how you'll purify it, what exactly are the properties of aluminium, we'll talk about each and every aspect in this session. With your AG ma'am, let the countdown begin, and please do not miss even a single minute and stay till the end because this session is going to be very helpful for your exam and question will definitely come from the same. And now if you want to buy Vedantu Pro course, which is going to be equally helpful for all of you, there will be a link in the description box pinned by Vedantu 19 channel. You can copy that link and do not forget to apply the code AGEPRO because this will give you discount from 20 to 43%, which is like do not miss type of a deal. All right, students. So let's begin our journey and be very happy and excited because this is going to be an important one. And for the very first thing that you should know, how aluminium is going to be present, how aluminium is there in the nature. So when I talk about aluminium, that's there in the nature in the form of ore, but obvious, what exactly is an ore? Ore is a metal compound that's there in the earth crust from which I can get metal conveniently and beneficially. It's not like I'm going to spend suppose 20,000 and I got the amount equivalent to 25 or 20,000, not like a good deal to have, right? So it should be a beneficial deal for us and method must be convenient to do as well. So aluminium exists in the nature in the form of these three kind of ore. The very famous one that I think you know is bauxite. That's hydrated aluminium oxide. Aluminium oxide with 2 molecules of water. Then this is cryolite, equally important. We are going to use it as well. That's sodium aluminium fluoride, Na3AlF6. All the elements are written in such a way that total positive and total negative charge must be always equal. That please do not miss while writing a chemical formula. Corundum is also an aluminium ore, that's nothing but anhydrous aluminium oxide, that's Al2O3. Somewhat we can get also from bauxite. Okay, so yes, when we get it from earth crust, the name is corundum. And when I talk about all the properties of aluminium, symbol is definitely Al, mass is 13, atomic number is 13. Atomic numbers double plus 1 is giving you atomic mass, that's 27. And silvery white metal this is, and you know that you can see that in front of you. All right, specific gravity 2.2, that means when you compare its gravity with the water, that's 2.2 times heavier than water. Valency 3 because configuration is 283, and you can see that's the number of electron that aluminium can lose to follow an octet arrangement. That's how it will lose 3 electron, and valency 3 you can also say plus 3. And it belongs to period 3 because total number of shells define the period number. So it belongs to third horizontal row. Group number 13, how you can calculate group number? That's 10 plus number of valence electron, that's 3. So it will be 13th group number. All right, these are the basic property of aluminium that you should know. Now for the first place, who is the one who discovered aluminium metal in very starting? His name was Oersted, and 1825 he discovered your aluminium metal. And trust me, don't get confused, this is the most abundant metal in the earth crust. It's so reactive that it can't be present in the free form. After that only iron and other metals will come. Okay, very reactive this is, and the commercial process with the help of which we are going to get our aluminium is there in front of you. Hall and Heroult in 1885 developed the process for the extraction of aluminium. And not like we'll be having only one step where we'll be extracting only aluminium. Our main focus is just to first of all get our alumina, aluminium oxide, then to extract our aluminium, and then to purify it. So basically I'm going to tell you that there are 3 total steps that we needed to understand. So let's start right now. First, we will take our bauxite ore and get alumina out of the same, that's Al2O3. So are you all ready with me? Yeah? Keep hitting that like button and please support it by subscribing to the channel, and let's make this channel a big hit. Let's make AG Ma'am's video a big hit in such a way that it will help all my lovely students, and in exam they can count this time that yeah, these videos were very helpful. That's what my motive is. Alright, so when I talk about bauxite, that contains almost 60% aluminium, and we needed to get that. Not aluminium, aluminium oxide I'm talking about. Bauxite, this is Al2O3.2H2O, that in total is having 60% Al2O3, that the very first step that we need to get this alumina, and then we will move ahead. Alright students, so the very first step to get aluminium oxide will be concentration or purification of ore. We'll be having bauxite ore and we will be purifying it in such a way that we'll get a concentrated amount of ore, that's Al2O3. And that step, that process is called as Bayer's process. Every process will be having a particular name on the name of the scientist who discovered it, who gave it to us. So do not forget it to mention. Bayer's process. And for Bayer's process, what you all should know that what was the very first step? Bauxite is grinded finely and heated to remove volatile impurities. So you will be having this Al2O3.2H2O. The very first step is to grind it completely and then heat it. So all the volatile impurities will be gone. Our all main aim here will be to get rid of all type of impurities, soluble impurities, insoluble impurities, as well as volatile impurities. Volatile impurities is gone. Now what will we do? Conversion of bauxite into alumina, the main purpose of this process. So for that, what will we do? We'll take our bauxite that was away from all the volatile impurities, and we are going to put caustic soda, that's NaOH, hot concentrated NaOH we are going to take, and we are going to heat it with your bauxite ore, and that will decompose, that will convert to what students? Sodium aluminate, a kind of a salt with the water. Look at this, it's then heated under pressure with concentrated caustic soda. For 2 to 8 hours you're going to heat it, not like an easy process to do, but end result will be very beautiful. Okay, so the main purpose to get Al2O3, but this is going to take 2 to 3 steps. First step, we are going to get alumina, that's sodium aluminate, we achieved it, and now in sodium aluminate, what are we going to do? Look at this. We are going to heat it. We left with sodium aluminate, right, with water. So what you will see after some time when you're heating it, that it is somewhat converting to sodium hydroxide, again giving back more of like a reagent, and you're getting aluminium hydroxide white precipitate. There's one more thing that we just missed. There will be insoluble impurities also called as red mud. So when you get your sodium aluminate with water, there will be insoluble impurity that settle down, that is red mud. You can remove those impurities. That's my insoluble impurities gone. Now sodium aluminate with water, when I'm heating it, see that first we'll heat it and then we'll cool to 250 degrees Celsius. What will we observe? That you will get NaOH with aluminium hydroxide, and that too it's white precipitate. White precipitates of aluminium hydroxide is going to settle down at the bottom, and what we will do, other kind of impurities will be again soluble in that water and caustic soda, and in that way, by removing aluminium hydroxide white precipitate and make it completely dry, we got aluminium hydroxide, soluble impurities also gone. So in all of these steps, we get rid of volatile, then insoluble, and then soluble impurities, and finally got aluminium hydroxide that we heated as well. So when we heat it, first we'll make it dry and then we'll heat it around 1000 degrees Celsius. We will get our alumina with water. That means water is going to evaporate and we will be left with alumina. We will be left with alumina. Do remember that, because that was our main purpose for Bayer's process, to get alumina. So I think this is pretty clear how to get alumina from my bauxite ore. Pretty much obvious. Now this first step is done. Now look at this. Now we will do reduction of alumina. I had Al2O3. Alumina reduction means getting rid of oxygen to get my aluminium. So the first thing that came to our mind is, to get rid of oxygen we should need a reducing agent. So what reducing agent we basically can use, right? This point will be there in our mind. So do remember that we can't use reducing agent like carbon monoxide or hydrogen, because aluminium is quite reactive metal, and with oxygen it's making a very stable kind of a compound, and a normal reducing agent will never do the job to get you free aluminium. There must be a better method, and that better method is nothing but electrolytic reduction. With the help of electrolysis, you'll always get your pure metal at cathode, and I told the same in the electrolysis, so we are going to use the same phenomena. All right, so please save that in your memory, because we are going to talk about that process. That's the process called as Hall-Herold's process, was given by these two scientists. From alumina, we are going to get our aluminium. This is the entire setup in front of you. What exactly is this? This is my electrolytic tank that we have taken steel container. Iron with some amount of carbon in the form of coke. We get steel because pure iron is very soft. So we are having a steel container, and we need a cathode and an anode and a source of battery. Look at this. This is my cathode. Pretty different. Yeah, we take a carbon lining completely at the bottom of the tank, and that will be my negative carbon electrode, and that is my cathode, because cathode is that negative charge terminal. And these are the positive carbon electrodes called as anode. Anode is positive terminal. And how do they get positive and this negative? Because they are connected to a source of battery. And this container is a bit having slope at the bottom, so that the aluminium, as I told, we will get at the cathode in the molten form, will be easily extracted from the same. All right, so let me just make you understand the entire process. A rectangular tank sloping at the bottom, and so that molten aluminium can be easily extracted. Okay, we have a carbon lining because we'll take it as a cathode, and now what will we do? We'll be having our molten electrolyte, that's aluminium oxide. But the problem is, aluminium oxide is having a very high melting point, around 2072 degrees Celsius, pretty high. And this much temperature is not easy even for an electrolysis to convert them into ions and can start moving them. So it's more of like a non-electrolyte at this stage. We have to add something in the same, so that my ions will be free and can have a better conductivity to move towards respective cathode and anode. And for the same, what are we going to add in the same? Look at this. We are going to add our Na3Al(F6), our cryolite, and also calcium fluoride, our fluorspar. Okay, this kind of a mixture, a fusion mixture, will come at a melting point of 950 degrees Celsius. So it's like by mixing them, the melting point decreases, fusion point decreases to 950 degrees Celsius, and it also helped for a better conductivity of ions of aluminium and oxide. So that's pretty much a good thing that we needed to do, and this also acting as a solvent for the same, so that aluminium oxide can be easily dissolved and can convert into ions. So thumbs up for the same, that they thought in a right way. So we got this mixture because we have heated it, like preheated it around 950 degrees Celsius, aluminium oxide with our cryolite, and then these are carbon lining, that's cathode, and then we have anode. And now we will do what? We will switch on the battery so that the current can flow, and the battery will be of around 5 to 6 voltage. We will provide a low voltage, because if you will provide suddenly a high voltage, what will happen? Your cryolite can decompose, and that we don't want, because that's acting as a solvent. And molten cryolite is something that is keeping the temperature to 950, and for the same we can sprinkle carbon in the form of coke at the starting as well, so that the heat will not escape and it can maintain the temperature that we want. So what will happen? My cryolite will decompose to give sodium ion, aluminium ion, and fluoride ion. My fluorspar is giving calcium and fluoride ion. My aluminium oxide, aluminium and oxygen. So we have a variety of cations and anions. We have cations like sodium, calcium, aluminium, and anions like fluoride and oxide. And I hope you remember our electrochemical series that I taught in the electrolysis chapter as well. That among these, when we move in the reactivity series to the down part, tendency to gain electron increases. So among these three, which will be at the bottom? Aluminium, more tendency to gain electron, more tendency to go towards the cathode. And if you remember, anode is positive terminal where my negative ions has to go, and which has more tendency to lose electron because they have negative charge. They'll get rid of their electron and become neutral in nature. So among oxygen and fluorine, you know that they belong to the same period. First oxygen will come and then fluoride, and you know that when you move in a period, tendency to gain electron increases but tendency to lose electron decreases. That means my oxide ion has more tendency to lose electron. That means at anode, which ions will go? Oxide ions. At cathode, which ions will go? Aluminium ions. That's what we wanted, but not that simple as we are thinking. Look at this. Aluminium takes electron at the cathode, gives you aluminium in the molten form that is going out from that steep, and at anode, oxygen gas is formed. Oxide ions are going, losing its electron and finally giving us oxygen. But if you remember, my anode is nothing but carbon rods, and oxygen is going to summit over there. Carbon reacts with the oxygen to give carbon dioxide gas at the final step. First carbon monoxide, but more amount of oxygen, finally we get carbon dioxide, and that's not a right deal. That means we kept on changing the anode because they are disappearing and forming carbon dioxide gas. So this is a must step to remember. Okay, and finally we got our aluminium, and the best part is that is 99.8% pure. Whenever we get aluminium from electrolysis, this is like the purest form possible. Okay, and now also if there will be impurities of metal ions, that's possible. We have a method to purify aluminium as well when we have an impure one. So Hall and Herold's process was very important. You can make some small notes also and can note down all the important thing. Okay, cryolite, as I told, what was the usage, because question can come in 1 mark as well by asking some simple precautions for the same, usage for the same, that you should not miss. That why do you use cryolite? Because that is decreasing the temperature to 950 degrees Celsius and enhancing the conductivity of your aluminium and oxide ions. Okay, and apart from that, they are acting as a solvent also, and as I told, increasing the conductivity of the solutions. And I told this part also, all of the precautions. Powdered coke is sprinkled over the surface of that electrolytic mixture that we have taken, because we needed to maintain the temperature around 950 degrees Celsius, and if we don't do that, heat can go to the atmosphere, heat can be exchanged, and that's we don't want. So it reduces the loss by radiation, also prevents the burning of anode at high temperature. So these are the precautions that you needed to understand. And now students, being in Vedantu, all of your problems can be solved. Like if your doubts are not, answered in Vedantu platform with the help of master teachers and a team of class teachers, every doubt will be solved at that time only, so that whenever you leave the class, your topics will be cleared. Notes of every session, so that you will not kept on writing everything and you don't have proper time to revise. Test in 15 days, assignments after every session to make sure that you will do enough type of a question that you will not get confused in exam. That, okay, I didn't talk or I didn't know about this type of a question. This question is out of syllabus. No question is out of syllabus, they'll give. All right, competitive exams preparation you can do. And the best part is you can choose your own schedule here with the choice of language like Hindi, English as well as English. It's all up to you which batch you want and where you'll be comfortable. Language should not be a barrier. Unlimited live class you can attend at this platform. So many micro courses, chapter based courses, crash courses, revision courses. Ma'am is going to start revision by next week only. Performance report, because in every session of Vedantu we take quiz and see leaderboard to make sure that learning is active and you are learning properly and can answer us. Personalized attention of teachers, everything possible. If you'll visit the link given in the description box, there is a link for pro courses, and there you can select 1, 3 and 6 months courses of Vedantu. But do not forget to apply AGE PRO code, because that will give you discount from 22 43% depending upon the course duration that you'll choose. The best one, if you'll ask me personally, will be 3 months. Sufficient time, moderate time to revise everything. All right, so do not forget it, everyone. And now we'll talk about the third step, that's refining of aluminium. Means I told you, if we get that aluminium, if somehow that's not that pure and someone is like, okay, I'm giving you impure aluminium, how you're going to purify it? So that's Hoopes electrolysis process. Refining process is also working best if we prefer electrolysis. So we talk about Bayer's process, Hall-Herold's process. This third is Hoopes process, that is used for what? We are going to take a 3-layer of molten substances of different specific gravity for the refining, for the purification of aluminium. Pretty important, okay? This is like 3rd layer electrolyte that we are going to take. The very first one should be pure aluminium. We will be needing pure aluminium as well, molten form of pure aluminium. Then we'll put molten fluoride in the 2nd layer. Molten fluoride of what? Sodium, calcium and aluminium's fluoride we are going to take, okay? And here molten aluminium and some copper alloy as well. Molten aluminium, the one that we needed to purify. So we are going to take this 3-layer of the electrolyte, and again cathode and anode. We can see that we take anode is the positive terminal, we take cathode as a negative terminal. So at this time, this is my cathode, negative terminal. Why? So that pure aluminium can attract towards the cathode, and anode is what? Your positive terminal. All of your negative ions can move towards it. So let's understand the process in detail, that how that's happening, students. Very first point, molten impure aluminium forms the bottom layer, and the bottom layer has carbon lining and serve as anode. Look at this, where we have taken our molten aluminium, the impure one, there is our carbon lining, and now this time that's acting as our anode, positive terminal. Purposely we took that way, you will understand that, okay? And after that, pure molten aluminium we'll be needing, and that also carbon electrode cathode is attached to that, and that too in the top layer. In the middle layer, as I told, we are going to take sodium, calcium, barium and aluminium fluorides. That's also going to be there. Okay, so these are our molten fluorides layer as well. This is pure aluminium. We'll be needing some dipped with our cathode, that's negative terminal. This will be our impure aluminium with carbon lining, and that's our anode. Now what will happen, students? Please understand, we'll pass a low amount of current only. Aluminium from the middle layer, we'll be having fluorides, right? Aluminium fluoride, barium fluoride, sodium fluoride and all. Aluminium from the middle layer passes to the top layer, and an equivalent amount of it shift from the lower layer to the middle layer. This process will keep on happening. So what will happen? We have aluminium ions here also, because that's positive, aluminium ions here also, and aluminium here also, that in the pure form. So aluminium's ions start traveling from middle to top layer, and from the aluminium ion in the bottom layer, in the middle layer to the top layer as well. So this process will be continued. Okay, pure aluminium is dropped from the top at the cathode. So this is it. Please, I'm telling you again what is happening, and here we can discuss that. Molten aluminium, what it will do in the form of aluminium ions will start going here. We have here fluorides, we have our metal ions also, and among them calcium, aluminium is the one having more tendency to move. So aluminium ions from here and here moving towards here, and then negatively charged cathode is there, a source of electron. They'll go gain electron and start submitting in that top layer part around the cathode, and negative ions can move towards the anode. That was not our main purpose to know that. So what's the conclusion? What do we get to know by the same? That the very first step, what it will be, bauxite ore, taking bauxite ore, and we'll do concentration of ore by the Bayer's process method, so that we'll get the pure alumina Al2O3. Then we have to reduce this ore, and we'll prefer electrolytic reduction by Hall-Herold's process to get our aluminium mostly pure, but whatever impurities are left, we can purify it by further electrolysis called as electrolytic refining to get pure aluminium using suspended graphite rod as anode and carbon lining inside the iron container. That's anode, and upward we took cathode. Okay, so finally we get our pure aluminium at the carbon cathode that we have chosen, and our work is done. Now we have aluminium in the pure form that we wanted, and this is very much important 3 steps that we had understand till now. Now please understand, it's a silvery white metal, you know that already, light and very strong. It's very light yet very strong. That's how we are using to make it airplanes as well, having very high tensile strength as well. These are its physical property, and you know that both malleable and ductile making wires. Now we are replacing copper wire with aluminium wires as well, and malleable at the same time. We are making thin sheet and using aluminium foil for packing of medicines, packing of food, and etc, etc. But the more important part will be what, students? Its chemical property, its chemical reaction. We'll talk about that as well. It has a lustrous surface, but it's quite reactive with atmospheric oxygen, and a layer of aluminium oxide will be developed at the surface of it, which is protecting it from further corrosion too. You should know that point. It's like its corrosion is good for itself, for aluminium. Melting point 660 degrees Celsius, and boiling point is 250 degrees Celsius. Quite high because metal has high melting and boiling point. And yeah, so many students were telling me, ma'am, we really want to prepare for NTSC. So students, NTSC, for NTSC, there's Vedantu Olympiad School. There's a particular YouTube channel, and you can attend NTSC classes from 4th to 3rd December with all our master teachers, Monday to Saturday, 1:30 p.m. And the best part is, if you are in 10th class, definitely you can choose NTSC 2020 prep course also, which is for this duration. And for that, this is the link, and NTSC 20 prep code will give you 90% discount. And if you just want to take mock test, you will get the same 90% discount, just 99 rupees. You can register it here, and this is the coupon code that you need to apply, NTSC 20 mock. You will get all of this information in the comment section, description box as well. All right. As I told, the maximum importance will be for chemical properties, how aluminium is going to react. Very, very important. For the very first time, you should know the reaction with air. As I told, its surface automatically get oxidized and gives an oxide layer above it, right, and protecting it from further corrosion. And when we try to burn my aluminium in air, aluminium is not going to burn very easily. But if you will take aluminium dust, aluminium powder, that can be burned in air to give aluminium oxide. All right, and it can also react with atmospheric nitrogen to give aluminium nitride. Aluminium nitride. Ide, metal ending with a negative charge. So this is aluminium nitride. Reaction with water. Aluminium is reactive, but for reaction with water, it's not very easy. It won't react with hot or cold water, but it can react with steam. So when you take aluminium and try to react with the steam, it will react to give metal oxide and hydrogen. It's a kind of displacement reaction only, where aluminium is replacing your hydrogen because aluminium is more reactive than hydrogen. So you get aluminium oxide and you get hydrogen gas as well. So this is reaction with water. We talked about reaction with air too. This is very important. I'm mentioning it here. Very important. That's amphoteric behavior. Ampho means amphi. Amphi means dual. Dual kind of a behavior. Means it is something, generally metal oxides are the one, or metals are the one that shows basic behavior. But these, there are some example of metal that shows more than one type of behavior, and aluminium is one among it. Aluminium's oxide, even aluminium, can react with acid and base, and more of like a chameleon, can change its nature. If you put it into a base, that will behave as an acid. If you put it into an acid, that will behave as an as a base. Okay, so acid base, you just mixed it with water to give metal, salt and hydrogen gas. Okay, you will take acid, you are going to take that base, you will get salt and hydrogen gas. base, and with acid you will get aluminium chloride, again a salt, and hydrogen gas. All right, so please do remember this part. This is something that shows dual behavior and can act with acid, can react with acid as well as base. Purpose is again replacing your hydrogen and taking its position. You get a salt, aluminium chloride with hydrogen gas. With NaOH, you will get sodium aluminate. Why sodium? In very starting, sodium is more reactive than your aluminium. So the salt that's going to be formed should include sodium as well. So the name will be sodium aluminate. All right. This is pretty much clear, but there is one thing that you should know. When I just say that metal reacting with acid, is it that easy? The reaction with acid is very slow because aluminium had developed a layer of aluminium oxide on its surface. So in starting, very slow because that layer is aluminium oxide and that's a base. Basic metal oxide, generally basic, because I treat it with an acid. So what will happen? Initially, all the acid will react with that basic layer to convert it to salt and water and will be removed. Then when aluminium surface is completely cleaned, now acid will attack to it to give what? Metal salt, aluminium chloride, and hydrogen gas. So this is important. Slow initial reaction, and after some time it will become fast. You know that because of that protective layer. After some time, it's going to get dissolved in your HCl that you have taken at an appreciable speed. Okay. Now when I take dilute sulfuric acid, what it will give you? Again, aluminium sulfate along with hydrogen gas. But if you take concentrated sulfuric acid, please do remember that concentrated sulfuric acid and your concentrated nitric acid, even nitric acid in the diluted form too, acting as more of like an OA. What's OA? Oxidizing agent, and that will try to oxidize the product that you're going to achieve. So we were thinking initially the product will be aluminium sulfate along with hydrogen gas, right? So this acting as an OA oxidizing agent will oxidize your hydrogen to water. This is already in the oxidized form having more amount of oxygen. This will also be oxidized to water and itself get reduced to give gases like SO2 and SO3, and that you can see here as well. So in this reaction with concentrated acid, they are better oxidizing agent. You will get metal salt along with the water being an oxidized product with reduced product of your sulfuric acid, that's SO2 or SO3, depending upon the concentration that you have taken of your acid. Okay, this part is clear. Do remember one more thing, like a note: diluted or concentrated nitric acid does not attack the metal aluminium. It renders aluminium due to the formation of oxide on its surface, as I told you. Like reaction will be very, very slow. So we say it's not happening, but you know it's happening. But after some time when the layer is gone. How my metal is going to react with non-metal? You know that metal with non-metal, it's going to be an ionic product, and that you'll achieve also. Aluminium with nitrogen, you have to heat it. Aluminium nitride with chlorine, aluminium chloride with sulfur, aluminium sulfide with carbon, aluminium carbide. These are the ionic compounds that you can achieve, because metal with non-metal, you'll get ionic compounds. Reducing action, your aluminium is acting as a good reducing agent also. It's Ra. Okay, your metal can act as reducing agent. Why? They can reduce your given substance by displacing it and taking its position. So what we see, aluminium in the reactivity series comes before iron. So whatever the metal comes in the starting, then the metal that comes in between or later, these metals are strong reducing agent and can displace the metal of your less reactivity. So aluminium can displace your iron to give your free iron displacement and gives aluminium oxide along with heat. This reaction is very much important because this reaction has some names. We call it aluminothermy. We also call it thermite reaction. Why so? Because in this reaction, where we use aluminium powder to reduce my iron oxide, this reaction releases tremendous amount of heat that your iron having around 1535-45 degrees Celsius temperature will be there in the molten form. It's more of like you're getting a molten kind of a form of solution, and that is acting to weld your railway tracks and to cracked machine parts as well. So this is the process we do to join railway tracks. Okay, that they will put aluminium powder with iron oxide and ignite the mixture with a help of magnesium ribbon, and then they'll react, they'll give you a molten form. You'll put it in between two railway tracks, and when it will be cooled down, these tracks will be joined. Very important one. What do we call it? Aluminothermy or thermite reaction. You should know that. So I hope that makes sense. I hope every point that I have told you is super duper clear. If there will be any issue, you can please revise the session with the help of seeing the replay. You can always put your queries in the comment section so that I'll see and will reply to you. Ma'am is trying to find some time to reply to you as well, and nowadays replying also. So do not think that ma'am is disappeared or someone else is replying. That's me only. Next session I'll take, that's doubt and mentee, because that's the one very important session and done according to ICSE syllabus this year. So we'll come up with next chapter 2. Mentee definitely we'll do. And as I told, you can take Vedantu course by selecting the required link in the description box. And 10th ICSE, get subscription, and you have 3 models, 1, 3, 6, choices all yours. My personal suggestion, at least spend sufficient time so that you can revise each and every chapter with us. Else, you just want to know how Vedantu works, definitely you can go for 1 month as well. But you will also say happily that I'm a proud Vedan like your Anubha ma'am. And do not forget to apply the coupon code AG EPRO, that will give you a discount. So I hope you like the video. Please share it to your friends as well so that they can also see the efforts of teachers of Vedantu and can appreciate it and can always follow for their exams. Alright, so I'll see you next time. Until then, please take care. Happy learning, my lovely students. Reach out to me. Ta-da.